Thanks, Debs, for inviting me to talk again. I did a talk earlier in her series of Roots of Life on demystifying the tarot. And in fact, there's a few people here who've either had tarot readings from me or been on the courses. So what I want to do today is share with you basically my life's learning. Okay, nothing minor today, just the whole kit and caboodle. I've kind of, and in fact, Amanda has experienced part of this because I did a coaching program with Amanda, and what you're seeing today is actually based on what I did with Amanda, which was based on something I did in the past. So I think it's I'm probably going to call it something like a blueprint. Seems to be an in phrase at the moment. A blueprint for living life wholeheartedly. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. And then I'm going to use a combination of the key points and lovely tarot. You'll be glad to know, those of you that like the tarot, to illustrate. And then at the end, I will tell you the sort of exciting news that certainly was exciting for me. I don't know if it will be for you, that's come out of this. So, as some of you know, I've had what they might call a bit of a rackety life. I started off, well, training to be a teacher. Didn't really want to be a teacher, wanted to go and live and work abroad, packed in the boyfriend, packed in the job, packed in the house. And at the age of 26, buggered off to Greece and started living. And that is absolutely what it felt like. Up until then, I had done everything right, well, as much as possible, in inverted commas. You know, I'd gone to college, couldn't get to uni, grades weren't good enough, wanted to study English, literature, that was all, had to go to teacher training college because it was the only place I could study literature, ended up qualifying as a teacher, taught English in a secondary modern school, sorry, in a comprehensive school in the West Midlands, and had a boyfriend for 7 years who everybody assumed was going to get married to. Always, from when I was very, very young, I had wanted to travel. The travel bug had been in me. I come from a very mixed background, I guess. I've got Spanish, Italian, you know, German, no, not German, sorry, Irish, Scottish, English as well somewhere. But a lot of wanderlust in my background. Always wanted to travel, and I'd always, and most of you here will relate to this, had always felt different. Now, I used to put it down to the fact that we moved about every 3 years. I was born in Southport in what was Lancashire then, but we moved down south, and every 3 years we moved. So always to a new school. You know that feeling, if those of you who've moved to being a new girl at a new school will know what I talk about, when you go and join people who've already really formed that unit, and then you come in and you are not part of that unit. And I had to do this again, me and my brothers, again and again and again. And every time I felt different and awkward and I don't know, not good really, but got used to it. Got used to being a bit of a joker, got used to putting on a persona. And then sort of when I went to college, I kind of settled down a bit into who I was, but even then felt a bit different. And what I do know is that although I met my beautiful boyfriend Dave in the first term at college, he wasn't a teacher, he was in business. Even then, when all my friends were talking about settling down and getting married, I didn't want to do any of that. I didn't want to settle down, have a house, have babies, none of it. I wanted to travel. And so I was putting down the wanderlust and the feeling different to, yeah, travel, just feeling like a square peg in a round hole. Until I went to live in Greece, when I finally, for the first time, found people who thought like me. And one of the things about living life wholeheartedly is to recognize who you are and to find the right people to be with. And I always had this dream, I always had this kind of vision that I would be abroad, that I would be doing something with people who felt the same as me. So as I go, I'm going to share with you these key lessons along the way. So we're about to get to the first one. So it's all about, I've done little flashcards. When I was training to be a teacher, we did flashcards. I haven't done a flashcard for years. There you are, there's a flashcard. It says, live life wholeheartedly. The blueprint for living. And the things I'm going to talk about are vision, values, passion, resilience, empathy, and trust. Amanda, you'll see the final 3 are different from the ones that we worked on. So the first one is about creating for yourself, having that vision of what you want your life to be. And it doesn't matter what age you are. And I'm going to be 66 can't quite believe it, in 2 months' time. And I'm finally at 65 starting to get it right. Okay. So don't anybody dare say, oh, I'm too old to do any of this. All right. It's bollocks. Okay. There we go. So create an inspiring vision. All right, you've got, if you can have, it's like, you know, if you can dream it, it'll happen. Well, we know that's not true. I've dreamt all sorts of things that have never happened. Some of them, thank goodness. But you need to have a vision of, you know, something to aim for. And that's the first thing. Now, when I was in Greece, I started to realize that I was living the dream in many ways that I had envisaged when I was stuck teaching in Dudley in the West Midlands. And there I was, you know, never mind the job, I wasn't bothered about that. But there I was sitting near the Acropolis, having wine and drink, you know, calamari and what have you, at the foot of the Acropolis in November in the sunshine with people and laughing. And it was like the vision, the dream had come true. So when you are going into the world, which is the tarot card, so I'm using major arcana cards here. When you're going into the world and you're thinking about what do I want my life to be? How am I going to live it to the full? You want to think about those dreams. This is the star card. What do you dream about? What is in this star? When I'm working with clients now, particularly with my tarot coaching, where I'm really integrating things much more now, we talk about this. What is in here? What do you see in that star? Because here she is, she's dreaming, she's connected to her dream. And what is it that you see? So when you're starting to talk about your life and how you want to live it to the full and live it to your tenets, not anybody else's, it doesn't matter what anybody else, it does matter what people think. I mean, you don't want to upset people, but you have to live a life that's true to yourself. So you need to create an inspiring vision, and the inspiring bit is for you. You know, if you think about the future and your vision, as you know, people thought my vision was to get married, settle down and have 2 kids. That vision used to make me feel ill. I mean, it just wasn't what I wanted. You know, I wanted to be on that Greek beach, having fun with some oil-soaked Greek god next to me. I mean, I don't know, you know, that was what I dreamt about in my 20s, not so have an inspiring vision. You need to create a vision, and you need to work on that to create a vision that is right for you at this time in your life. Now, what your vision is when you're in your 20s will be very different to, as with mine, in my 60s. I'd actually love to settle down and get married and have kids now. Well, not kids, a bit like that. But settle down and get married. You know, I'm finally probably ready for that. And nobody's to say it's too late. So that's the first thing. Create an inspiring vision. Think about what is it in your dreams? What is it in this star? And you need to be realistic about it, you know, because you don't want to create a dream or a vision that you're never going to achieve, because that was just depressing. But you take where you're at and you think where you'd like to go, and that's the bit in between. Here's where you're at, here's where you'd like to go. That's the bit that connects it, and that's the bit that you're going to be working on. So then you can start to sort of make it happen. And I use the magician card for this in the creating the vision. You're going to manifest it in the words of the spiritual amongst us. You're going to make it happen. Well, this does not happen by accident. This does not just happen lying in bed thinking, you know, all this stuff about, well, I'll just manifest it into my life by saying I want it. Well, that's not going to work. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to change some things. You're going to have to make some big differences if you really want this to become a reality, because this is what is worth working for. That's why it has to be an inspiring vision, because if it's not, you won't work at it. And I can tell you there's one person here, and that's Debs, who, if ever there's anybody who takes a vision and works bloody hard to make it happen through all the ups and downs, Debs, you know, and there's been more downs than ups for poor old Debs these last few months, through the ups and downs, but you still goes to make that vision. And Debs illustrates beautifully all of the things that I'll be talking about in this. So you've got your vision and you're going to manifest it. You're going to make it happen by looking at, so here, if you like, we've got the vision up here. I love these cards, by the way. In case you're wondering, some of you will know, it's the Light Seers Tarot deck, which is just my favorite deck and very, very popular with modern tarot readers. So we're manifesting it. So here now we've got our vision, but now it's kind of coming here and we can start to manifest. We can start to think, oh, okay, what is it that I need to do to make this happen? Okay, so you can be starting on that little plan. And so when I was in Greece, I mean, you know, to get to Greece, to make my vision of living in Greece happen, I'd had to do a number of things, which included finishing with my lovely boyfriend of 7 years. He was the least surprised probably of all our friends, but you know, he'd known I was never really going to settle. I had to hand in my notice at the school without a job to go to, and I got interviewed for about 40 jobs and did not get any of them. So come September, when everybody else went back to school, I still didn't have a job abroad. So I went off, as you do, I went off to Cannes with my new boyfriend, and I was actually in Cannes on a yacht when I heard I'd got a job in Greece. So I had to rush back to England, and 3 days later went to Athens. So you need to do the things that are going to make it happen. So that is create an inspiring vision is the first thing. The second thing you need to do, now this I did not know at the time, but I wished I did. Know your values. What is really important to you? Now in the 70s and 80s, people didn't really talk about values, or if they did, they weren't clarified, and certainly not to younger people. My son knows what his values are and he's 23. But you need to know what your values are. So this was truly illustrated to me when I never was conscious of values, but I did know that I didn't particularly value stability and security. I valued at that time adventure and passion. Okay, so if somebody was to ask me then, that's what I would have said. But a lot of my friends, they valued, you know, a good stable job. They wanted that. They valued the love of a close family, all sorts of things. We had different values. But if you know your values, it really helps when you're making decisions. And to illustrate this, if you like, to take from when I left Greece after 4 years, I came back and I couldn't settle down. I think I was 31, still not ready for marriage or any of that, still wanting adventures, and couldn't settle, and eventually got a job teaching, well, it started off teaching, it didn't last with that, going to Hong Kong. And I got a job with HSBC, and I had the most miserable 3 years of my life. But I stuck it because there was a bigger vision in my head by then. I was so unhappy in Hong Kong that I cried nearly every night for about 2 years. And that was after I'd gone out with all my friends to all the posh pubs and drunk all the champagne. It was a very hedonistic time. It was the 80s. It's a time of, you know, sort of yuppie era, kind of living life to the max. We worked hard, very hard in Hong Kong, really hard, but we played hard. We partied every day, every night. So you'd start work at 8, you finished at 5, you'd go home, you'd get changed, you'd go out, and you'd be out till 1, 2 in the morning. That place in the 80s was a place, well, yeah, I left in 90, was a place of hard drinking, heavy drugs, very unhappy marriages. And I was unhappy, and I didn't know this. I didn't know that my values were being so strongly hit that it was making me physically ill, because I don't and still don't value status. I don't value having, you know, lots and lots of money. And the thing with the bank was, when I worked in the bank, you could tell what status people were by the flat that they worked in. Women were not allowed to have expat salaries. So as a white woman working for the bank, I was on the same rate as my Chinese colleagues, because the white men earned about 4 times as much as their Chinese colleagues or the white women. I'm putting it in simplistic terms here. I hope it's not offending anybody, but that's almost how it would be described then. And so I had to pay for my tiny little box flat, which was one room with a partitioned bathroom and kitchen in that one room, and it cost about £1,000 a month, and that was in 1986. It's the second highest real estate in the world. But I was learning new skills. I was determined. I was getting out of teaching, and I was learning a hell of a lot about life, a lot about stuff. But I was very, very unhappy because of the values. And the justice card kind of is to do with this, because being fair and knowing your values and thinking, this is a hermit card, thinking about what are your values, what are really important to you, what's going to make life fair for you and others is vital. I didn't know it then. And I mean, as I say, I was in my 30s, that actually what was really important was that my values were just being hit all the time. And this applies, by the way, in relationships. You will find, if you look at any relationships with friends, with partners, even with children, whatever, employees, employers, you look at the values. Never mind what a company says their values are, or what anybody says, you know, they'll have strap lines and all that stuff. Just think about what your values really are and have a look at what theirs are. And you can often find points of conflict and of cohesion depending on what your values are. And those of you that know me for many years know that all the work I do and have done for probably well over 20 years, certainly since I've been coaching for over 20 years, is all predicated on what somebody's values are. Because when I work with somebody, once I know their values, we've got part of that blueprint. So know your values. Second key thing. Third one is passion. Now, this one actually these days isn't quite such a thing as it was when I first designed what was called Inspiring Leadership Program, which is 15 years ago. I did a lot of research into leadership. I was doing a huge amount of leadership training and development and coaching with very senior people. And I noticed when we were doing all the training and that, nobody ever talked about passion or inspiration or intuition or any of those things. It was all about strategy and focus and direction. And I realized that to inspire people, you needed to show some passion. But it's really important to know that I am not talking, this is part of it. Okay, this is the lover's card. This is two people who've met and matched and are absolutely passionately in love. But I'm not really talking about necessarily all this fire. Because people say to me, well, you know, I'm not an extrovert. I'm not somebody that can shout and make a noise. I said, it doesn't matter. It's not to do with that. It's to do with having such a strong belief in what you do and what you say, and that you genuinely believe that you have got something which is of help or benefit to others. That doesn't matter if it's a cranberry juice or if it's a course on anger management. It doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't matter what the thing is. But you need to have the passion and to acknowledge it to yourself and not be afraid to share it with others. And I always use the example of when I was doing in the leadership program, I was working in construction, and there was a number of guys. I mean, construction, my son's gone into construction. He's so frustrated with it. It's a very old-fashioned male-dominated sector. And we were dealing with middle to senior managers and trying to get them, to develop their team working skills. And it was very much a culture of you just tell them what to do and they get on with it, otherwise you'll shout at them. So we were trying to get them to look at team working, but also at communicating clearly and effectively, but sharing your passion. So we asked each one of these roughy tufty, and there was only one woman then in the group, what the group I'm thinking of, if they would share and talk about for 2 minutes without being interrupted to their partner on something they were passionate about. And we did it one way round, where they did it sort of privately to each other, and then they agreed that they would do it so everybody could hear. And I will never forget this guy. He was probably about my age, actually. He was coming up for retirement, certainly. A great big bluff guy, and wouldn't talk about his feelings or anything, but he talked about carp. When I say carp, I mean the fish, right? Bloody great big fish. He loved carp. Well, that guy talked for, he could have talked for about a month, I reckon. He talked for 2 minutes about carp so eloquently, so wonderfully, that we all wanted to go out and get carp because he loved it so much that we all loved it with him. So passion, don't be afraid to share your passion, because you've got to, if you're going to get people to align with you, to live your life and make you live wholeheartedly with the people. And I'm not talking about work. This is about every aspect of your life. If you want to be with the right people who are going to bring you joy and happiness and uplift you and be there when times get tough, and that, you need to be able to share that passion of whatever it is, to let them see that part of you that perhaps for some may have kept a bit closed in the past. And again, there's lots and lots of things you can do, but you do need to have a think about it, and you mustn't confuse it. This is, I think he's the sexiest devil I've ever seen on any tarot card. I would be so strongly tempted by this guy that I would probably just go and live in hell very happily for the rest of my life. But anyway, the Lovers, and this is passion. Okay, so this is passion which is controlled, and this is good passion, and this, he's the guy that tempts you into things that aren't right. You've got to be clear on what your passion is. And passion, as I say, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about high energy emotions. I'm just talking about feeling something so strongly that you want to convey that to somebody else so they can be inspired by that. So share your passion. This next one, and I have adapted this because Amanda, when we did it, it was determination, but I've adapted it now. Develop flexible resilience. Now, resilience is a word that is being used an awful lot, and I've added the word flexible because resilience is obviously to do with strength, but you have to have that flexibility. We are all struggling, well, I say struggling, I mean, we're all adapting, shall we say, in one way, shape or form to this new world that, I mean, we cannot see the future in this. Even lovely Helen, who can see, you know, who's got the stars there and can know some of the directions that perhaps with, you know, the planetary things are taking us in, but we don't know on a personal level where this is going to take us. But if we can develop resilience and be flexible resilience so that we're strong, we know that we are going to bend but not crack. Now that takes a lot of time, and there's again a lot of things you can do to develop your resilience, to develop your strength, and a lot of it is to do with being self-aware, to know what in the past has made you snap or fall or break, to the point where, unlike Mr. Weebly, who falls over like that but then comes back again, there have been times in all of our lives, I'm sure, where we've gone flat and it's taken us a heck of a lot to get back up. So we're talking about developing flexible resilience. In Hong Kong, all those skyscrapers and things that they build there all the time, they have bamboo scaffolding, not steel, because that place gets hit by hurricanes all the time. It's quite scary. If you're kind of quite high up and your building is starting to go like this, I can tell you it is very scary. More so possibly, I've been in a few earthquakes as well, but I don't know, they're both scary. But anyway, the buildings up there, they have bamboo scaffolding. And I remember the first time I saw this, so Christ, you know, this is in a modern city. Why have they got bamboo? But of course, bamboo flexes. They tried metal. The metal actually snapped in big, strong gales, but the bamboo will flex in the storms. So you need to have your strength. So this is the lovely strength card. And again, usually this in the traditional Rider-Waite tarot, it's always a woman in, well, I don't think I've seen, apart from the kind of abstract decks, I've never seen a man in the strength card. And invariably, she's got a hand on a lion. In this one, what I love is the fact that she herself is half lion or lioness. And she's got her hand on the lamb. So if you think about that lovely, gentle strength that you need with resilience, because if you have that kind of, I don't know what words to describe it, but that really strong, angry kind of strength, that's going to snap. It's not sustainable. So this card, I think, beautifully illustrates flexible resilience. But I've also paired it with the Emperor. Now, the Emperor is the ultimate male figure. So if you like, we've got, and the Empress who comes next. These are the sort of divine feminine, divine masculine terms in archetypes in the tarot. Now, this guy, I mean, look at him. Is he cool or what? He's just kind of, yeah, you know, here I am. I'm the Emperor. I'm so cool. I've kind of got everything. But actually, he's quite powerful. I mean, he goes out and, you know, probably slaughters animals or something. He's got a chess piece here. He's a master chess player, and he's strong, but he uses his strength. I mean, if you look at him, he's not got armor on. I mean, in the old, you know, in the traditional Rider-Waite, they're all armored up, aren't they, with swords and armor plating and that. His armor is inside with his strength, because he knows he's worked very, very hard to get to be Emperor. He's had to knock out a few kings along the way to get to be Emperor, the ultimate ruler on the material world. So flexible resilience, soft strength, and an inner knowing of your strength. And I got that in Hong Kong because I stuck it out. I could have left, but I would not leave until I had got, it was like Hong Kong was wringing me dry. I was determined to wring Hong Kong dry for everything that it gave me, because I had a huge opportunities in terms of professional development. And I ended up developing the bank's, and when I say the bank, I mean Worldwide's Train the Trainer program, and being offered to head up training for Southeast Asia. So I achieved what everybody else thought was success. Of course, I didn't want that. I said no thank you and left. But I developed resilience then. I've never ever sort of experienced, in some ways, quite such challenging times in a professional way, not personal. The next one then, empathy. Inspire with empathy. And I've thought long and hard about these last two, because empathy, I think, is a really, really key quality. It can't always be there, because sometimes it's difficult sometimes to empathize if we haven't experienced. But I think that empathy, we can empathize with people just on that being alive, having a human experience. It doesn't matter whether or not we ourselves have experienced it, but it's not something that's talked about hugely. Well, maybe it is these days, I'm not sure, but it's certainly, you didn't used to be talked about in business. And I being a trainer, was in the HR department, and I mean, we talk about sympathy and whether or not you had a box of tissues nearby, but that was as far as it went. But inspiring others by being empathetic means accepting that we're all on different paths, every single one of us, however much we may appear to be closely aligned, we're all on our own life path. So empathy, understanding, being able to sympathize and understand with somebody else without taking on board their stuff. It's something that those of you here who've had experience of being a coach or in that, you know, it's really important, or counselors or anybody like that, it's really important that we don't take on other people's stuff. If we're healers, you know, we can't do that, but we can empathize. And that is a protection for us without us taking it on board, but helps others in their growth and development. So in your life path, I think it's vital, absolutely vital, if you're going to live life wholeheartedly, that you have empathy, to accept that other people may not think the same or feel the same as you, but that you can understand that. And so I have got two cards here. I've got the lovely Empress here. She is the embodiment of the female archetype. I mean, she's pregnant here, but she's pregnant with the world. You know, when you're talking about living life wholeheartedly, this is the epitome of this. She is kind, caring, compassionate, loving. She's really comfortable in her own skin, and she has enough empathy for the whole world, because she's been there. She's done that. Again, like the Emperor. She's been through the hard knocks to get to be, you know, this is all those queens that are sort of, you know, she's the top of all of that. I say top, it's not quite the right word, but you know, she's, you know what I mean? She's, so empathy, she epitomizes empathy. But I've also chosen Temperance, the balance. Temperance card, I relate particularly to this because it is Sagittarian card. A lot of these cards have links with astrological signs. This happens to be Sagittarius, which I am. But the Temperance card is all about getting that balance, that harmony in life. And of course, with empathy, you can balance what you feel with what others feel, hopefully, and find a way through. It's a way to compromise. It's the way to acceptance. So empathy, as I looked more and more into it, I thought, actually, yeah, because I thought about compassion, and there's also acceptance was another word, but I've chosen empathy. And and this is the first time I've shared this as a talk in this way with anybody, but actually I think it fits. So inspire others with empathy. And finally, I've just had a life lesson in this. Inspire with trust. Nurture intuitive trust. And I've used the word intuitive trust because, so trust is the key word. But everything that I'm talking about living life wholeheartedly, is about about trust. Because at times you've got to take risks. I mean, being born's a risk, isn't it? I mean, we don't choose it, but from the minute we step onto planet Earth, you know, it's all a bit of a gamble as to what's going to happen. But time and again, we have to trust that what we're doing is either right, or that the person that we're talking to, we can trust them, or that the situation that we're about to go into is going to be. But you know, when we take on a new job, when we employ somebody, when we marry somebody, when we choose if we want to have a baby, all sorts of things. But I've put the word intuitive there because intuition is so important. And in fact, in the work that I do, more and more, I am working with people. And those of you that have done my tarot course, I'm about to, well, I've just started a second higher level one, intermediate level. And it's all about using your intuition and trusting when you're reading the cards. I'm doing an advanced psychic development course at the moment. And all about that is about trusting your intuition, but at a very high, at a higher, deeper, I don't know what level. And of course, with trust, well, we've got the ultimate trust, intuitive one here, the High Priestess. She's the embodiment of intuition. She trusts her intuition implicitly. And you see, when you get that, we're talking here where Caroline was talking about the gut instinct. You know, our gut is so important to us. It's a shame she's just gone, but it is so important because it's where, in our solar plexus, it's where so much of our emotion lies, and we so often ignore our intuition, and we don't trust it. So I put it in, I was going to put intuition, and I thought no, because actually in living life wholeheartedly, in using intuition encompasses it all. But trust is such an important thing. You have to trust that there is some stuff that you know. There really is. You know, you get to a certain age and stage where you think, well, okay, if I don't know it now, I'm never, because I'm not going to be here that much longer, or whatever. Or, you know, you trust that you do know better than somebody about some things because your gut's telling you. But you have to learn to trust yourself, and you have to be able to use your intuition to do that properly. And so that High Priestess, she's the one, because the ultimate card in the tarot for trust is the Fool. The Fool is the one that starts the journey, where leaping off the cliff is the biggest act of trust there can be. And in fact, if you notice, this little one, she's still holding on. She hasn't quite let go. She's looking at, she's about to leap off, and it's a star-spangled, I can't remember what they call it. It's not the Tree of Life. Does anybody know what that's called? Somebody will remember it. Anyway, it's a flower pattern. But anyway, she's going to leap into that. She's just about ready to go. And this is the thing about you choosing to live your life wholeheartedly, making that conscious decision that no more are you going to live a second-rate life. No more are you going to allow yourself to be put in the corner, put in a box, whatever. You're going to let yourself shine in your own inimitable way, doing whatever it is that you're meant to be doing, in whatever way you're meant to be doing, for the best of all, for the best of yourself and for all. And you need all of, I believe, all of those. There are plenty more things, of course, that you need, but we've got that vision, those values, the passion, resilience, empathy, and trust. And then and I speak as one who knows. Okay, take it from me, because I've been around the block enough times, and I am here. You know, and I don't have what many of you have. I don't have a husband. I don't have any money. I just about have my house because I've nearly lost it. I'm living on my own. I've only got a cat. I've nobody to give me a hug. So I've got a lot of things that I would feel possibly, I mean, I'd love all of those things, or at least one of them, but I don't have those things. But what I do have is this. And I've realized for the last 6 months that this is what I've got. And this is the sun. And you know why I've got it? It's not to do with anybody else. It has been to do with going through all of this and finally putting it together, learning all those lessons. And I will continue to do so for the rest of my life. But the rest of my life is now going to be about sharing this with as many people as possible. Which is why the exciting bit of news that I have for myself, and maybe, I don't know if you will, is that finally I'm taking the course that I had as Inspiring Leadership, which I developed into intuitive leadership or intuitive coaching, and I've now put it together into a course which I'm going to launch in November. It's going to be a training course, so it's not, it won't be quite as simple or straightforward as, say, the tarot course. It will be based a lot on a lot of my training and teaching experience. It's not going to be aimed at business or personal. It's just for anybody who wants to develop their lives wholeheartedly and irrespective of what's going around. So as I say, on the surface, if you took all the basics, do not appear to have that, but for some reason I do, and it's not gone away in the whole of these 6 months. It's just got stronger and stronger and stronger. So I know now it's there. It's taken a lot to get there. So now I just want to share it with people, because there's a lot of stuff I wish I'd known before, could have shortcut some things. So that's my thing. I'm going to start the course in September. It's going to go through from November to February, January, February. It'll be every fortnight, and I think there'll be 3-hour sessions. I'm just talking with somebody in London about it at the moment. I want it to be international as well. But what I do want is, if anybody is interested, or you know anybody who might, just to give me names and you know, I'll put you down. I'm going to have 12 people. Pricing, which won't be priced like my tarot courses and that. It'll be more expensive than that. But I want it to be affordable, but not. It's got to be. This will be life-changing courses. So it's got to be value for money. But that's what I'd like to let you know. So live your life wholeheartedly. If one thing that I've said in this 40 minutes has helped one of you to do one thing differently, then that's great. I don't know, you know, all I can say is I just want everybody now to sort of have a go at it. Try, you know, if there's any aspect of your life that you're thinking or feeling, oh gosh, I just had enough of that, I really must change something. Remember these things, have a look at all of these for yourself, because these vision, the values, the passion, resilience, empathy and trust, just start to really look at yourself. You can't change anybody else, you can only change yourself. But as soon as you do that, you change the world's reactions to you. So that is my talk.
Thank you, Zoe. That was lovely.
And happy sunny day to all of you.
Yes, it's been beautifully put, Zoe. Yeah, I very inspired by that, because I think for me it was more the value side of things, because I've worked in jobs where I've not resonated with what or aligned with me. For example, Imperial Tobacco, and going out to sell a product that just doesn't fit with my values.
Yes.
And I just no. And also working in credit cards as well. You know, again, I was thinking I was putting people into debt. I mean, I wasn't putting people into debt, but I felt I was giving them the tool to put them into debt.
Yeah.
you know. So has any of you got any questions for Zoe? You can unmute yourself if you have any questions for Zoe, or put them in the chat.
I am Zoe.
Yes, Catherine.
Hiya, Zoe. I'm interested in that course that you're talking about, definitely. What is it exactly again, please?
So what it'll be is it's going to be 6 modules which will take each one of these elements, but show you how to so you'll by the end of it you'll have all of this really clear. In other words, you know, so when we talk about the vision, in the first module you actually work on creating your own personal vision, okay? And and then we go through all of them. But there's a number of, you'll do lots of different activities. I'm going to combine it with some tarot, and you know, because it's all about intuition and that, but it's kind of like a personal development course. I've done a lot of this work before, Catherine. It's just I mean I've run this kind of course a lot, but it was for leadership, so the content will be quite similar, and you can apply it to personal life or business work. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, that's what I want really. But was it a life coach that I did with you once? Was it a life coach thing? So it's like that, but it's just broader scale, really.
It is.
Yeah. And I think it was the wrong time for me at the time, probably.
Yeah.
Now is more my time. So I think I'd like to do that. So if you give me some of the details on it, if you don't mind, please.
I will do. I'll put your name on the list, because I'm putting together a kind of waiting list. I've not got a pricing for it exactly, but I think it's going to be around 300 and something for the 3 months. It'll work at about 120, 130 a month, something like that.
Okay. And how many sessions did you say? There were 6 sessions, did you say?
6 sessions, but they will be, well, there'll be 3-hour sessions, but there'll be an hour and 50, you know, they're going to be, the 3-hour session will be split. There will be a break in the middle. It won't be 3 full hours in front of the Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Brilliant. Anybody else got any questions or anything they'd like to say? Has anybody got anything else? Let's have a look in the chat, Zoe. Deirdre Burton, when is your life book out, Zoe? I would read it. Great present. Brilliant golden nuggets, thank you. We'll need to leave 12 for medication round. See some of you guys later. Thank you for hosting. So yeah, it's
the book, I can tell you, I've tried writing the book so many times. I have got 3 different versions of it, and I keep thinking it has to have a hook. Maybe this will be it, because I don't feel I'm just going to need to write a biography. You know, the world doesn't need another story of people racketing off around the world or something. But maybe I could have it, the book, as a kind of live your life wholeheartedly with some life lessons or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, and Zoe, you know, look where you've come to, you know, from going to my event, was it a few years ago, and how do I approach people doing the tarot, and you know, it's been an amazing journey for you, hasn't it?
I think the great thing now, Debs, is I'm combining the whole lot. You know, it's almost like the tarot has just been slotted in. And I think when I look back on everything, it's like every element. And that's why I think this course is great, because I've delivered it. I delivered it for about 5 years, but in a different way. And I think now I feel happy about incorporating tarot or crystals. I don't care what you think. But
and you can adapt it. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, a really big thank you. I'm sure people have got a lot from that. It will be recorded and uploaded onto the Roots of Life. And if anybody's interested, please get in touch with Zoe. On, you know, and you said it's going to be starting in November. Yes, was that right? November, possibly. Yeah. So yeah, and I'll be putting this on the group today at some point. So I think we've had all our questions and things, and next week again we'll be doing the Keep Well Monday with Sheila Thomas at 11 o'clock, and then after that I'm looking at doing hopefully maybe a little bit in between, and then doing a bit of kind of connecting. I don't like to use the word networking. I think about us all sort of helping one another, if that makes sense. So have you anything? Oh, wonderful talk, Zoe, really resonates with me. Thanks for, yeah, that's from Jennifer. So yeah, it's great that we've all I mean, even though with all this what's happened, if there's one thing that it's brought us all together, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And made the world a lot smaller.
Yes, like
Okay.
a big family.
Sorry?
It's like a family of like-minded people.
Yes.
I go to my family and they're gorgeous. I absolutely love my family, but they don't understand this. They just don't.
No.
And it's just it's so lovely to look forward to. It is brilliant, us connecting. Absolutely fantastic.
It is, absolutely agree with you. So without further ado, I will say have an amazing week. Thank you very much, Zoe, and I'll see you, hopefully some of you next week. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye.